This video is going to be an examination of the cornerback position in the upcoming 2025 NFL Draft. Really, it's a couple of days late at least for what I had planned. The title of it, don't get distracted by it, top 10 corners in the draft. The order is not really what I care about, to be honest with you. There's other guys who could and perhaps should be included in this initial, I call it a video. It basically is a presentation where I will give you an interactive document or access to an interactive document that I created in a publishing program. And then you can check out film for yourself to see if it lines up with the evals that I give. I would again categorize it as an interactive PDF. You can click on my links for social media and or my Patreon if you're interested. There has film here, significant film for each player for you to check out. It might be best for you to begin with a section, the best play for each player or what would be in its place. So we'll start by kind of just perusing what each player category or page will look like. Just Travis Hunter, perhaps a little busy with text, but you'll get at each stop a coverage folder to click out. I'm not going to click on it necessarily yet and illustrate it for you. You can do that yourself as you gain access to the link. It'll be in the description, and it'll also be in the comment section. Best play is where I would probably begin if I were you. If you have any interest in the film at all and you haven't done so yet, for guys like Jahdae Barron, I didn't include his best play. What I did was that folder, that third section there, that third link, is his production, his plays as a nickel defender, a lot of which was from 2023, to be honest with you. I think he might end up being like a Devin Witherspoon type of guy who plays outside corner on 1st and 10 or with the base defense on the field, and then slides down to a nickel position if you're facing 11 personnel. Really, it depends on the quality of the other DBs on the team that takes him. Barron, I'm talking about, but like so many of these players that are going to be drafted in this draft, and any draft for that matter, it depends on where they go, what their fit is going to be. So I'm not really going to delve into the order here. To be honest with you, I don't really care who the 7th best or the 4th best corner is for that matter. The place where these guys will end up, I think, will impact some of their usage. Well, really, it'll impact some of their opportunity at all. Clearly, you have to start with Travis Hunter. He's an amazing talent, obviously, given that he was playing 111 snaps per game. Feel free to go look that number up and double check me and make sure that it is accurate. I found 2 different sources for that. I just find that to be remarkable, given the quality of the film, particularly on defense, which is what I'm focusing on here. But it's not just because of the impact plays, the big plays, touchdown catches, particularly in the red zone, great coverage, interceptions, if you will. But it's the consistency from a snap-by-snap or play-by-play basis. From an effort and production standpoint, he's a complete outlier, like to the third power type of situation. The athleticism goes without saying. It's the top of the food chain, elite. But the versatility, it's what I find really interesting, because he can line up as a hash dropper in a cover 2, essentially an inside linebacker position. He can play hard corner in a Tampa 2, basically the flats, and then a deep third player in cover 3, and then on he plays a lot of man, obviously, or played a lot of man for Colorado, just taking away the other team's best option, the best receiver for the other team. When I did see him give up catches or give up contested catches, it was to bigger bodied guys, 6'2", 6'3", 225, 230. Few plays he's lined up at corner and he drops to half field safety. I just found myself wondering, how did they find the time? How did he find the time to put himself in position, in great position, on the 50th snap of the first half or the 100th snap of the game? They had to have some creative installs there to get things done, or he is a spectacular talent. The toughness, the cardio, insane, the competitiveness, everything is there. As a Ravens fan, if he ends up with the Browns, that will not be fun for the Ravens to have to deal with at all. 2 games out of the year. I think I had his age listed wrong in the initial document. If you saw it on social media, 21 years old. Fixed it this afternoon, so hopefully it's right here incredible achievement to play 111 snaps per game. First player ever to win the Bednarik and Biletnikoff awards. Oh, by the way, the Heisman, obviously. The fact that he's not going number one overall is really remarkable. I think he looks like a Hall of Fame player if he can stay healthy. Now let's get to the folders. You're able to access this just by clicking on either one of the links. All right, let's look at what it looks like if you do click out on any of those folders or those links. I'm not going to click on these because I don't show the plays. I don't show college film on my YouTube channel, but you get the idea. There's 22 plays there in coverage for Hunter. I think I've got a significant amount of plays of his against Baylor in 2024. He's targeted a couple of times in that game, played all over. So the idea is here, you can go yourself and look at some of the film and trying to see if it lines up with some of my evaluations that are generally going to be on the left-hand side for this video. And hopefully are organic for you, meaning they're things that I came up with and they're not ideas that I copied and pasted from someone else. It's based on the film eval that I created from what limited film I had access to and was able to watch. Now, my main argument or concern, I guess, about him playing anything over 60, 65 snaps a game, and when I say that, I mean some combination of full-time corner and 30% at wide receiver, is the risk of injury. And so let's say that he was to play 90 snaps a game, which I don't think there's a chance he will. I don't know who could do so. But just from a numerical standpoint, I think the risk here would be something like this. Over the period of 4 or 5 consecutive games, if he played 90 snaps instead of 60 or 65, he's now almost played an additional game. Basically, by snap count, if we do 4 games, 90 times 4, 360 snaps, 360 plays, versus 65 times 4, which is 260. That's an extra 100 snaps just in a 4-game period. Now, that example might be extreme. Maybe it ends up being an extra game's worth of snaps or plays over the course of 2 months instead of 4 games. I don't know, but I think looking at the position he plays is a little short-sighted. I think he can play both. He can contribute on both sides, obviously. I don't think it's going to be full-time on both sides. I think that the franchise or the front office that drafts him would be better served, part of the decision-making process should be not just what position do we want him to play, but how many overall snaps. For me, I think corner just requires so much dedication to technique and adjustments that it might have to go that way. And I believe the team that looks at him should be looking at total snap count along with what position they want him to play primarily. You're welcome to let me know what you think of those thoughts. Things will move a little bit quicker here as we get to the next set of players. I wanted to intro not just Travis Hunter, but also the document in its entirety. So Will Johnson, one of my favorite players in the last 2 or 3 years. A superstar corner from his freshman year on, no red shirt, played at a high level in 2023. The film for last year, 2024, didn't reach the same heights. I felt like, and again, this is a player that I really like, and I'm very fond of from the standpoint of rooting for him to play well and interested to see how he turns out in the NFL. But I have to admit, when I watched him play this year, it kind of felt like Derek Stingley's last year at LSU, almost like he was playing in fourth gear. It's not that the effort wasn't there, but the film just had a different flavor to it. It had a different finish, and in some cases a finish that was lacking. There was piles or opportunities for him to go in and strike someone, and it didn't occur as much in 2024, at least in my opinion. I still think he's potentially a great corner in this league, not just a very good one. Maybe as soon as 2026 or so on that same type of track as a Derek Stingley. He's a 2-time All-American. I think he's gone off the board by pick 12 or 15, probably sooner. I certainly hope he doesn't end up, available for teams like the Bengals or the Steelers. My suspicion is his career follows a similar track to Stingley. At some point in his first 3 seasons, he'll be talked about as one of the best corners in the league. Of course, Stingley's contract just, reset the market completely for the NFL. He's got great talent, recognition, the ability to see route combinations and then cover them effectively. Hey, the hamstring issues, I believe that it just cleared up Another injury maybe that prevented him from testing. So who knows where he actually lands. My instinct or my thought from watching his film in 2022 was best corner in the country. 2023, I still held on to the same belief, but there was some kinks or chinks in the armor in the film in 2024. I didn't think lived up to the 2022 standard, which was it was just spectacular. I think the ceiling is a real dynamic with Will Johnson, and that's the sell that he could be a great corner if he's healthy. Number one, and number two, if he plays to his potential. Once again, links are available for run defense coverage, and then his best play at the bottom of the document. If you're tracking along, next guy, Jahdae Barron, very smart, extremely versatile, can play nickel, outside corner, aware, quick. He's played against a high-level competition, and he's produced 8 career interceptions, 21 tackles for loss. Plays at the same time that he's cerebral and smart, almost ahead of the game. He's also very fast. And what I mean by that is, obviously the 4.39 40 stands out, but he's got great burst on film. And that lines up. It lines up with his RAS score, 8.64. I think that's like just inside the top 400 ever for RAS scores out of like 2,800 total corners that were tracked and recorded for that data point RAS. Athletically, he's slight he's 5'10". In terms of what he measured, is he an outside corner? Is he more of a nickel? Could he be both? Like I said earlier, I almost wonder if he's like a Devin Witherspoon for the Seahawks. Do I think he's got the athleticism to play on the outside? Yes. He's a high-level football player, a ton of intelligence, smarts to his game. He bursts downhill to make plays, can go from outside corner to nickel on a snap-by-snap basis. Fantastic player. Looks like he knows the play sometimes, and that's what I mean when I say on the left-hand side, understands formation, the situation and routes that flow. His zone instincts are really good. They're, in this draft at least, they're the closest to Maxwell Hairston, who's got elite zone instincts and ability to make plays from a zone platform. Barron is similarly intelligent and smart in zone, also matches routes in what I think are split field coverages. His film is organized differently. It's organized into coverage, some run defense stuff, very few generally, and then nickel coverage snaps. I thought at times he looked more physically impressive at nickel, but the sample size I had was small. I think it's 5 games that I studied over a 2-year period. So it really precludes me from saying or making a conclusion about where is he going to be better, outside corner or nickel. Again, I look at him like a Devin Witherspoon, a guy who could be successful at one or the other, or both, over the context or sample size of a game or a season. Shavon Revel or Shavon Revel, I guess the H is silent. This is an amazing situation, or it possibly will be. It's unfortunate that he's injured, first of all. I think he's a late first-round pick, early second-round pick with the film that I had, which was Michigan from 2023, Old Dominion 2024, and App State 24. I think I had some highlights from a couple of other games. Physically imposing. 6'2", plays great downhill against the run. He's rugged, tough in those situations where he has to come up to make a tackle or come up, or take on a blocker, shed the blocker to try to make a tackle. He stood up to Michigan's guys in 2023 outside. It reflected well from a physicality standpoint against a team that obviously went on and won the national championship that season. The film is there for you to check out again with links at the bottom. I think I only have 3 in the run defense section for him. I believe that I attached a screenplay in there. You can check it out. Again, this is an interactive PDF. The bottom of each player page will be links for you to go check out the film for yourself. Clearly, we would have more film available for Revel, but he only played in 3 games this year before suffering an ACL injury. I think it makes the situation very dynamic in terms of where he will be selected and by who. Meaning, you could have a team take Revel who doesn't expect to see him on the field early in 2025. I know that the timeline that he stated is that he'll be ready in August. It could, and it's different now compared to how the ACL injuries were dealt with 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, meaning players often return a lot sooner. He stated that he'll be back soon. He could be sitting there to be taken early in the second round and a team move up to grab him. I wonder if there's not a team who's got their eye on him that already has maybe their corner group set in stone or hard coded, if you will, for 2025. And Revel would just be a guy, an add on with great talent, high ceiling, if you ask me. I don't know who that team is, but if you check the film that I've compiled here, I think you'll see a talented guy, plays with extreme confidence. He trusts his ability to close space on vertical routes or deep overs, crossing routes, if you will, across the field. He trusts his ability to close on it. Reminds me of Reek Woolen in that way, and the way he plays those concepts. I do have some concerns about him in zone, specifically cover two. He seems to be very easily moved or manipulated by the quarterback, looking one way and then coming back to his area. I think I have two plays that kind of highlight that or reflect it to a degree in the folder that's labeled as coverage. Still really like the play that he's put on film, especially at 6'2", 194 pounds with his speed, 4'4", 40 athleticism. I think this is a unique situation in a draft. I get it. Some say the cornerback position is thin, but we must note that there are at least three really big, fast, confident corners in this group that have great ball skills, and that's Revel, Darien Porter. Now, Zai Frazier is not in the same category as those guys in terms of where he's expected to be taken. Will Johnson is. Will Johnson's 6'2". My point is there's a lot of guys in that 6'2", 6'3" range with great speed. The difference is, for me, Revel is like a jackhammer in the way that he plays against the run. Additionally, with how he disrupts receivers' routes really before they can even begin. Will Johnson's maybe more of like a smooth operator. Porter's kind of like an animal of his own, and I'll talk about him more a little bit later. Benjamin Morrison. Another reason why I have the film organized here for you guys to go check out is kind of like proof for what I've done. You may agree or disagree with my evaluations, again, that are on the left-hand side here. But at least by me presenting it to you, I'm showing you my work, and you can accept that my evaluations are based off of my own work and not information that I gathered from anyone else out there on the internet. Benjamin Morrison, another guy with health concerns that got to be mentioned. I think 2 times surgery, hip surgery, one of them, and maybe shoulder. Nonetheless, very athletic, smart, also combative as hell sometimes when he needs to be. He contests space, and he's almost when he doesn't need to contest space. I mean, he's off coverage. It's almost subversive at times, very sneaky. And another thing I noticed, and I'm not sure that there's a stat that'll line up with this, so you're welcome to agree, disagree with it, or go watch the film with this in mind and see what you notice. To me, he seemed to be the corner in this draft that I noticed. He had the largest amount of times where the quarterback looked to his side as if the initial read was there and then determined, okay, I better not throw the ball there, and we come back to something else. It almost seemed like Benjamin Morrison was in great position often, such that his targets were reduced, or the targets even to his side were reduced. I can't quantify that. And, it just seemed to occur via my eyes after watching probably 30 or 40 plays of his and thinking, okay, I've seen this more often with Morrison film than any other corner. He seems like he can run with the smaller, shifty wide receivers, and he can also battle the physical big X and tight end guys occasionally. You're welcome to go check out the film and let me know what you think. I think his ability to adjust during the play is also elite, meaning when Notre Dame was in zone and maybe the quarterback moved around, Morrison almost always found the right receiver to cover to prevent a completion. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. Essentially, when the routes became unsettled, he seems to have incredible awareness and intelligence to cover up whatever's going on around him. He's not just a smart football player. Obviously, the way I'm presenting him so far is the smart player who's not athletically gifted. I mean, first of all, he ran a 4.39 40. He's got nine career interceptions in 31 games. Oh, by the way, his father, Daryl Morrison, played in the NFL. And I think he has 4 siblings, 1 brother and 3 sisters, who were or are Division I scholarships as well. Tremendous athleticism to go with the intelligence. The health concerns, I think, could be an issue. Who knows? I do really like his game. Like I said, can run with the smaller receivers. Got a ton of versatility in coverage. He really reminds me a lot of Trent McDuffie, in that he's being underrated some in this draft, but he's just got classy coverage skills across the board. McDuffie, his last year at Washington, didn't have as many breaks on the ball, to my knowledge. Morrison has 9 career interceptions. At age 21, other than the health concerns, he looks like a first-round pick to me, and probably later in the first round in a normal year. What he looks like for where he goes for this year, is anyone's guess. Probably some disagreement about rankings here or order. Again, for me, I don't care about the order. This is just presentation of the top 10 guys based on my film study that I found notable or worthy of attention. This is one of the most exciting players for me, a guy who I can't wait to see how he fits in or if he fits in well in the NFL quickly. The zone awareness, the burst, and the finishing ability is off the charts. It's just a great combination, not to mention that he ran a 4.28 40, put up a 9.63 RAS score. I think that's right around 104, 105 out of about 2,800 total corners that have been evaluated using that metric. For this season, the RAS score, Hairston's 9.63. I think it was like 5th or 6th or 7th. Now, 2 of those guys, Darien Porter and Travis Hunter, posted 9.99s. So there's an insane level of athleticism for this group that some have judged to be thin. I think Hairston's 2023 film was the most impressive. And Travis Hunter and Will Johnson have a complete collection of film over a number of years. Width, if you will, of their impact. The depth of impact for 2023 for Hairston is what I'm mentioning. He had 5 interceptions. It was the way he controlled areas or parts of the field, particularly in zone. I thought that stretch, I had 4 games from 2023, was as impactful as any stretch for corner play that I noticed. Does it mean that I think he's the best? No, certainly not. I think it's why he belongs in this group of top 10 guys, or maybe just outside of it, if you will. I also have to mention, and I think it's been covered a lot, he's got incredible confidence. He seems to have a competitive fire that almost rubs off on his teammates. I think it's noticeable when you watch the film. He's combative, dangerous to throw at him. This is a special talent in zone, potentially a day one impact guy, if you ask me, in the right system, meaning with the right coverage is called. Now, what team is that? Where? I don't know. But someone who's not going to ask him to play a ton of press man or be a follow or travel corner across the field. I would guess that others are not as high on him as I am. Again, my focus was the 2023 film. I think I did have 2 games from 2024 for a total of 6, but that could be the primary difference between my evaluation being higher than others, is that I had to focus on 2023 film. But we can all agree, I think, that he's got great bursts to break on routes. Picked up some penalties sometimes. He's got insane confidence. He's a ball hawk. We'll see if any other NFL teams have him rated so highly. I think he could be another one of those guys, late first round in the 20s into the early second round, that some team or teams may have rated higher than the rest of the teams do. He just has the look of a guy that if he's in the right place would shine and perhaps do so immediately. Whether that's the Eagles. Well, the Eagles don't need DBs, even though they've got rid of Darius Slay, or the Chiefs or the Rams. Those are the types of teams that stick in my mind at this point. I have to make a point about the depth of this corner group when a guy like Darien Porter is the 7th player that is on my list, with alien-level athleticism, first of all, a 9.99 RAS score, 4.340 at 6'3", 195 pounds. From Iowa State. Now, prior to this season, absolute unknown from the standpoint of being mentioned as even a third-round player, let alone second or even late first. Should sound familiar, right? Reek Woolen is the obvious comparison. Very similar build, similar long speed. A couple of differences. In high school, first of all, Porter, who's from Iowa, set the state record for Iowa for the 400-meter dash. 4.340, ridiculous, like I said, a 9.99 RAS score. Now, he is 24 years old. He'll turn 25 next January, near the end of his rookie year. How similar is he to Woolen? Well, Woolen had 6 INTs as a rookie. Remember, there was a lot of discussion about him versus Gardner. One of the plays from Woolen's rookie year was a blocked extra point or maybe field goal against the 49ers. And a teammate, I think it was Mike Jackson, but I could be wrong, took it all the way back to the house against San Francisco. Well, Darien Porter had 5 blocked kicks in college, 4 punts, and 1 field goal. He's just a freak athlete who makes plays when given opportunities to do so. Basically, when the ball is near to him, he makes plays. Special teams, defense. I think his coverage skills are better than I've read other people describe. It's been described as loose, not refined, or even rugged. I think he's a smarter and more capable coverage guy than he's given credit for. And in fact, I think he looks like Woolen in the way he defends things. He runs with vertical routes very well, that long speed. Got great confidence. Excellent awareness in zone, in my opinion. I think he even adapts very well during the play. His length and his closing speed, huge assets at this point. The ability to go get the football, obviously, compares to Woolen in a favorable manner. He's also a converted wide receiver. He only had 1 catch, however, as a wide receiver at Ohio State through his first 3 years as a graduate student. This past year, in his 6th season, Iowa State had 3 interceptions, only 2 passes defensed. I'm not sure if he was targeted a lot. In the games I had film of, 3, UCF, Arizona State, and Iowa. I mean, I did watch his highlights too, but the film that's compiled for you at those links is from those 3 games. Maybe I had one other game. I'm forgetting it right now. He did have 2 picks against Iowa. In fact, made 2 game-changing plays, one of which was eerily similar to an interception that Woolen has on his ledger as well. It was against the Rams, a backup quarterback for the Rams, like a tight end leak wheel. Darien Porter, same type of interception against Iowa. It's under the link best play if you want to check it out. It should open up directly. Again, it's being an interactive PDF. For him to be the 7th guy on my list, I think speaks to the depth of the talent here at corner. And I believe there's 3 or 4 guys, 3 or 4 corners that I left off this list that could have been, perhaps should have been, mentioned to some extent. So the crazy thing is, we have a player, Porter, that I'm comparing to Woolen. Later on, the 11th or 12th player I list or talk about, Zy Frazier, who's from UTSA, just like Woolen, also shows incredible athleticism at 6'3" with game-changing ball skills. So I'm mentioning him to just further solidify or try to convince you that this is a deeper draft at corner than a lot of people have presented. Trey Amos, a little bit more balanced, solid, sometimes conservative corner, nonetheless very combative and a competitor. He played for Ole Miss last year, Alabama the year before in 2023. Is there rough film of his time in Alabama from that year? Yes, there is. There's also a lot of good and some things to like from his 1 season spent in Ole Miss. 3 interceptions last year, 2nd team All-American, 13 passes defense. I thought he showed balance in coverage. Maybe I should say versatility again. But I've used that phrase or that word multiple times so far. First of all, he's very comfortable at or near the line of scrimmage in coverage, whether that's press man or bail out just at the snap or afterwards. He's also extremely competitive, combative. He really reminds me of Amik Robertson. The only difference is he's bigger than Amik, and I think he's a little quicker as well. Amik is one of my favorite players to watch film of in the NFL. At 5'9", 185 pounds, something like that, maybe 187. He's super smart about getting his hands on people, and Trey Amos kind of reminds me of that. The only difference is he's 6 foot, maybe almost 6'1", and a little bit faster. Like I said, Amos closes space exceptionally well. He attacks 3-step routes quickly, violently. Got great closing speed in that regard. Also, a real good understanding of where his help is, the leverage that he should play with based upon where his help is located. Much like Barron, a smart defender, if you will. I think his 2024 film looked much better than the 1 year he spent at Alabama, highlighted by his comfortableness being at or near the line of scrimmage, and then also competing throughout the entirety of the play. Whether he's jamming or bailing, competes during the route, and then at the catch point. Improved player, if you ask me. Where does he get taken? Where should he get taken? I personally think he's got to be off the board by 42 to 48, somewhere in that range. Probably sooner, but I find myself saying that about a lot of players at this point. So, meaning there's guys who I think will be gone sooner than are projected. At some point, however, some of these guys are going to have to be taken early. There's only you can't have 67 players taken in the first round. Like I saw a post out on Twitter earlier this week. I do think there's some penalty-worthy plays of his on film, particularly from 2023. I think his strength is matching routes, being in good coverage relationship, making wide receivers, tight ends work really hard to get open. He consistently is in tight coverage, if you ask me. I only have 2 plays labeled, I believe, in that coverage section, whereby he really has given up a lot of space, essentially allowing the quarterback and the intended receiver to get an easy completion. I think the film reflects a guy with high-level coverage skills, competitiveness, and a little bit of a nasty nature as well. Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State. Interesting player. I recognize that he will or is drawing a wide range of evaluations. Deservedly so. It's the 40 time. 4.58. It's a real outlier compared to so many of the other corners that are out there for this year. 4.39s, a few of them. Hairston with a 4.28. Darien Porter, legit 4.3 at 6'3". Revel at 4.4. Even Quincy Riley, who I'll talk about in a little bit, 4.48. Thomas is a full second slower than that. It is a concern. But the film looks gritty, tough, unforgiving, meaning he gives no quarter. He is very aggressive and tough and doesn't seem to care if he's making too much contact at the line of scrimmage. He's not just a press man corner, especially obviously with a 4.58 40. I do think he plays faster than that 40 time. I don't think he's a slow guy. Now, there's a couple of other players. I don't think he plays slow, I should say. There's a couple of other players to mention. There's more than a couple, but I'm going to give you 2. Has there been other corners that were effective or even downright lethal with those types of 40 times? Yes, there have. Historically, Richard Sherman. I think he was a 4.55, but I may be wrong. Think about just last year. Kamari Lassiter. 4.63 and 4.61 at Georgia's Pro Day. After he had a spectacular 2023 season there in Georgia. His film in 23 looked great. Guess what? It looked the same last year as a rookie playing in D'Amico Ryan's system in Houston. Do I think that Thomas could do the same? In the right system? Absolutely. He's a competitor. He contests everything, maybe a little bit more physical than Amos and more edgy, handsy, if you will. Maybe penalties are being an issue. I'm not sure. I like the 2023 film because you got him opposite Renardo Green. And Green is a favorable comparison in a lot of ways. He was one of my favorite mid-round picks last year, and then the 49ers scooped him up late in round 2. If you don't know, Renardo Green had 13 passes defensed and I think 2 interceptions as a rookie for San Francisco. Do I think Thomas is getting taken in round 2? No, I don't. In my opinion, he looks more in the 75 to 90 range, somewhere in that area. But you never know if a team likes what they've seen enough to go ahead and grab him earlier than most may think. Again, Green was taken, I think, 12 or 15 picks ahead of his projection. And Lassiter was taken at pick 42 last year by the Texans, even though he ran a 4.63 and a 4.61. First of all, I think the 49ers had a great draft last year, one of the best in 2024, and Green was a big piece of it. Now, Thomas and Green are different players. They played together in 2023 at Florida State, and they both played in the same system. I think Thomas is a good football player. I've got like 15 coverage snaps in that folder if you want to check them out. I think it displays his tenacity, his athleticism, underrated, competitive nature, in my opinion. If a team believes in the coverage ability, they'll go get him regardless of the 4.58. His RAS score really wasn't that bad, 8.16, top 500 out of the 2,800 corners in that metric so far. So we'll see if any front office thinks he's a late second-round guy. In my opinion, I would think more suited for a third-round selection, but I just don't see how there aren't some teams out there lining up to take him in the third round if they've already got a couple of starting corners and they want to get Thomas in there. Try to develop him and see if a lot of the coverage skills from Florida State kind of translates over into the NFL. Now, there's a few guys that are left off here that'll be worth mentioning, and probably most have rated higher than Riley. I wanted to chronicle Quincy Riley for a very specific reason. I'll get to that in a minute. Two guys to mention here, Bilal Kone, who's a hidden gem from Western Michigan. Played at Indiana State, I think, before that. Physical with some real great movement skills. Ran a 4.43. Also, Zy Frazier. I like him a lot. 4.36 or maybe 4.39 at 6'3". Oh, by the way, had 6 interceptions and 10 PDs in 2024. So to have Riley on here ahead of or instead of some of those guys, along with like a Denzel Burke, seems kind of quizzical. But and I recognize that most others won't have him this high. It's not the ranking for me, it's the film. And what the film showed was a guy with great versatility. He's able to cover from multiple spots on the field. Very smooth operator, whether he's playing nickel or outside corner. I think this is a very good coverage corner. 8 career interceptions, 27 career PDs. A little bit older than some other guys. He's 23. I think if you draft him, you've helped your depth at corner because he can play inside or outside pending injury. I don't think he's drafted to be an immediate starter in 2025, but one of the things that I think he does really well is identify the blitz and then break on routes based upon the rush. Meaning if it's a 4-man rush, I didn't see him breaking on routes as quickly. If it was a 5-man rush or a 6-man rush, and this is just common sense, obviously, but he seems to be really good at it. He seems to be maybe a little quicker in recognizing those situations than other guys. He's very good at recognizing moments on a 2nd and 8 with a 5-man rush. Okay, I can go ahead and jump this route. Now, you may say, well, Coach, he only had 2 interceptions in 2024. What do you mean jumping routes? He had 13 PDs. He had 12 PDs the year before in 2023. This is a very good option later in the draft. You know, is he drafted before or after players like Kone, Frazier? Is he a 5th-round guy? I would think that when you look at the film of Riley, the awareness, the ability to break on the ball, challenge the catch, and the coverage versatility means that he doesn't make it through all those comp picks at the end of the 4th round. And if he does, then he's picked early in the 5th round. That would be my guess. He's super smart, plays inside or outside, breaks on the ball sharp, very good football player. I did want to have Zy Frazier here. I will be honest with you. These are my other notable corners, only 3 of which I have the film really broken down enough to present to you. Denzel Burke, I'm still in the process of doing, along with Jabbar Muhammad. Frazier, look, it's crazy the amount of big, strong, fast, and extremely athletic corners there are in this draft. Like I talked about, Porter, Revel, Frazier, and Will Johnson at 6'2". Basically, I have Riley there because I think he's got maybe a higher floor than Frazier. Frazier might be a ceiling pick. Also got Dorian Strong from Virginia Tech. I think footwork is a little more loose, a little less reliable. The speed isn't as impressive, clearly, as others on this list. It's entirely possible there's some players that I've missed here and didn't mention. Zy Alexander is someone I like, actually, a film of. But in any case, I like to summarize the film as best I can. You may not agree with some of my evaluations here, and I'm sure that we're all looking at players from slightly different angles, depending on who our favorite team is and what our team's needs are at that point. I do want to mention one final time the depth in this draft. Frazier being the final point there, trying to make because of his athleticism, his ball skills, 6 interceptions, 4.36 40 or 4.39 maybe, 9.35 RAS score, and that guy is probably rated 13th or 14th best corner in this draft. I think that he could slide up or down. It's a good group, in my opinion. Somewhat comparable to the 2023-24 group, The only difference might be depth, and here's what I mean. At the end of the 5th round in 2024, there have been 25 players listed as corners taken. So 25 of 176 selections were corners. Essentially, almost exactly, 1 out of every 7 players taken, or 14%. I don't think we see that total output through 5 rounds. But I might be wrong. I think we'll get close. It wouldn't surprise me if we got to 21 or 22. I do want to mention that 2 corners taken in the 5th round last year, Tarheeb Steele and Cam Hart, both with the Chargers, ended up playing significant snaps and minutes out in LA, and they outperformed multiple guys taken 2 rounds ahead of them in the draft. Could I see guys like Denzel Burke, Frazier, Riley having a similar output in their rookie year to those guys? I'm not so sure, but I do think there's talent there extending up through the 4th round. In any case, this is my listing of the top 10 corners for the 2025 NFL Draft. The order is not necessarily the important piece for me. It's the film. So if you're the type of person that enjoys or looks forward to watching film for each player, like I said earlier, you can go down and you can find links to check out some of the film and see what I based my evaluations on. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section, number 1. Number 2, if you would like to support my work, you can either follow me on YouTube and or Twitter/X. And if you really enjoy my work and you like to join either a Ravens or a Lions Discord, where we talk football pretty much 24/7 in a closed community that's protected from trolls, then you can click on that link and check out my Patreon and join for either $5 or $4.99 a month to help support my work. Appreciate you guys' time.